What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Fantasy View, and today we are talking about our weekly MVP odds races. This is as of Monday at noon. Paul has the latest and greatest odds for the MVP race, and we're not going to spend any time getting into it. I would send it over to Paul usually, but number 10 is the guy that I'm going to talk about for a little bit. Just a tiny bit. I just want to throw in my 2 cents on Justin Herbert because he's been my guy all year. He obviously had a bad game and struggled against the Denver Broncos, who most people don't expect to be a very good team. I mean, they are 6-5 now, or maybe it's 5-5. I believe it's 6-5 now. They're not a good team. Herbert threw 2 touchdowns, 300 yards, couple of interceptions. Nothing crazy. I think rightfully he moved down the list, but I, in my opinion, think that he still belongs above Lamar Jackson, who's been struggling as of recent. So I don't know. He's not technically 10th. He's 9th, and he's tied with Mason's guy all year.
I will go ahead and talk about my boy Lamar Jackson. I do believe he sits above Justin Herbert. They are a better football team. That means they have a better chance to win the championship. Therefore, he deserves to be ahead of Justin Herbert. Okay. Lamar Jackson is struggling, guys. He threw 4 interceptions against the Browns. Last week he was out. I feel like his chances are going down further and further. I love Lamar. He's back in the league. My favorite athlete in the NFL. I'll always stick true to him. I think he should be running in contention all year long, but he is rightfully so back down the list. Paul, I'll let you go ahead and move it up.
So, we'll jump up to number 7, which I believe he's rightfully sitting in the correct position. Maybe a little bit higher due to a couple of guys I'll talk about in a second, where I think they should have dropped. But Jonathan Taylor, plus 1,400 odds. In the past game, he had 16 carries, 83 yards, and a touchdown, 4 receptions for 14 yards, and 19.7 fantasy points. And that's against, in my opinion, the best defensive front in the NFL in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Obviously, that's not on the same pace as him with his 40, 50-point games and 20, 30-point games that he's had basically since week, I think, 6 or 7. But he's showing why he should be an MVP candidate, and he's, I think, solidifying why he should move up a little bit higher. He leads the league with 1,205 rushing yards. I believe it's 16 touchdowns now. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to move to the next guy, which is Dak Prescott at plus 100 or plus 1,000. I'm sorry. This is one of the people I think
right by Brady. Shooting right by Brady with plus 100.
Yeah. But no, this, I feel like he's kind of, I wouldn't say solidified himself as a top MVP candidate just yet. He's had really good games, but he's also had bad ones. We talked about him on our Meta Monday last week, where he was one of our fantasy zeros. But again, I don't think he should be, I guess, this high. I think Jonathan Taylor should actually jump these next 2 as well. We have Kyler Murray at plus 1,000. He's missed 3 consecutive games. He's obviously on a bye week this week. And so I feel like in a position where he was listed as like number 1 and number 2 for quite a while in the beginning of the regular season, I don't think he should be as high on this list. I don't know if you guys have anything to say about that.
No, I think he should be lower. He has missed so many games at this point.
Yeah, I think rightfully so. Those missed games are going to hurt him a lot. Whether they are going to be the number 1 team or not, whether they go to the Super Bowl, I don't think Kyler deserves it based on how his team has still performed while he's been out. So, yeah, I think he should move down farther on the list.
We will jump up to number 4 then, Patrick Mahomes. This is the second guy at plus 900 odds that I believe should kind of drop a little bit. We've talked about it. He has not been an MVP for much of this year. Obviously, he comes off a bye week, so he doesn't have more stats to add. With that, I feel like he should just drop a little bit, and Jonathan Taylor should be higher due to all those reasons. So we'll skip over talking about him for any longer. We'll go into number 3, Aaron Rodgers, plus 700 odds. He's a reigning MVP for a reason. He's probably one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, if not right behind Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, in my opinion. But with no offseason at all, having no practice the last 2 weeks due to COVID and his COVID toe, He's still finding ways to help this team win, to put up numbers. Obviously, they lost to Minnesota 2 weeks ago, but they came back, went on track, and they just beat a very good LA Rams team.
Yeah, I think it's just he's solidifying himself as a top 3 candidate at this point and almost a number 1 candidate. That's really all I got to say. He's just been playing lights out as of recent, as usual.
I think he should be ahead of Josh Allen. I think the Packers are honestly the best team in the NFC. I think they're better than the Cardinals. I think they beat the Rams, rightfully so. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers should be pushing Tom Brady for that MVP position. And I think Aaron Rodgers is going to take his team all the way, whereas Brady, you saw that he is like basically – I don't know. We can talk about that in a minute, actually. Sorry about that. But, yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers should be bumping up on that list. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. And I agree with that. So we'll jump into number 2, Josh Allen, plus 450 odds. After 3 down games of below 20 fantasy points, he picked himself back up as well as the team on Turkey Day, throwing for 4 touchdowns. Obviously, he had 2 interceptions as well in that game. But he kind of made a little bit of a stand of why he should be a top MVP consideration with the 4 touchdowns. He added, I think, about 60 more rushing yards. But they blew out a disastrous Saints team right now. They're in turmoil all the way around. They have a lot of injuries they're dealing with, lost their starting quarterback for the year. It's just a lot of different things that are going on there. So like Mason said, I would probably put Rodgers up a little bit higher. But that takes us right into number 1, Tom Brady yet again, plus 275 odds. He's second in passing to Derek Carr only by 11 yards. He still leads the league in touchdowns with 30, but he's continued his sluggish, recent start down the stretch right now. In the last 3 games, he's thrown 4 interceptions. He has 13 fantasy points as well as 11.5 fantasy points. And that's just not something that we're used to seeing out of Tom Brady at the moment. But yeah, I think he obviously deserves to be up there at the top, being number 2 in passing yards by a small margin, and leading the league in touchdowns. But I mean, it kind of is what it is. Like I've said multiple times in the past few weeks, this league is a what have you done for me lately kind of thing. And I don't know if he continues this, poor stretch of play where he's not throwing for 330 yards, 2-3 touchdowns with 0 interceptions throughout the day. I feel like if one of these other guys, Rodgers or Josh Allen, maybe even Jonathan Taylor, they continue their dominant stretches that they're having at the moment, like I've talked about, they might have one of those games that just boost them up to number 1. Like I said, if Tom Brady continues to kind of struggle, they had 2 losses in their last 3 games. I feel like it's just one of those things he might get edged out at the end of the year.
Yeah, I think this is a kind of league where, as Paul was saying, they like to favor the people. What have you done for me recently? That's why Patrick Mahomes, after having 18 horrible games, moves down to number 6 and then has one crazy game, moves right back up to number 1 at minus 1,000 odds. So, no, yeah. I'm joking. Obviously, Mahomes is obviously a fantastic player, but he's just not an MVP this season. So that stuff that sticks out to me. Rodgers, in my opinion, he has an argument for leading right now. I mean,
he should be.
Him and Josh Allen, I think. Tom Brady's been sluggish the last 3 games, as Paul said. But that's all we got today. Run out of time here, so as usual, we're gonna end the video here. If you like the video, like down below, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. Like Paul's saying right now, subscribe. The button is right above the description down below us. It's actually under Paul. He always points to the button though. You can see it up there. It's in the top right every video. It's reminding you. It's like, hey, you guys gotta subscribe to these guys. They're pretty good at what they do, right? But that's all we got today for us. I'm gonna give it over to Mason so he can do the world famous outro.
Fantasy Few out, baby. Let's go.